What's going on, guys? This is week 5 of the 6-week video reintroduction series that I'm doing. So I'm coming on every week for 15-20 minutes and discussing a different topic that I work with clients on. So week 1 was grief and healing. Week 2 was self-esteem and self-worth. Week 3 was dating. Week 4 was self-sabotage. Last week I missed because I had some stuff come up. Anita said she had popcorn. I'm very sorry, Anita. I hope you made popcorn for tonight, although I'm not that entertaining, so you might be disappointed. Tonight, week 5, or the 5th video, since it's technically week 6, is abuse and toxic relationships. And then next week, week 6, will be purpose, motivation, and goal setting. Couple thoughts before we start. When I had the idea for this 6-week video reintroduction series about 3 months ago, I didn't realize how challenging it was going to be for me. These topics that I work with clients on, I could talk for days and days and days about them. So condensing them into a 10, 15, 20 minute video has been challenging. Between that and being very uncomfortable with the camera still and not really feeling like I'm kind of giving it the John Polo coaching that I would with a client directly. A little disappointed in them, but I hope you guys are getting something from them. Even if you're not getting everything that I hope you would get, even if you're getting something, it was still worth it. So abuse and toxic relationships. Going back to the point I was just talking about. I'm not going to sit here and talk about abuse today. We're going to focus more on the toxic relationships. Here's why. Abuse is obviously such an unbelievably personal thing, right? It's so unbelievably complex at the same time. I'm going to save it for my one-on-one clients. I am also going to do some shorter videos on very specific topics that would fall under abuse. So that I will do, because I'll be talking for 3 or 4 minutes on something very, very specific. But I feel like discussing it today, it's not going to do it justice. Before we get to the toxic relationships, I do want to just kind of give a couple very quick thoughts on abuse, okay? Week 2 was self-esteem and self-worth. Week 4 was self-sabotage. I continue to think self-sabotage is one of the most dangerous things ever. I continue to think there are about maybe, like 8 or 9 kind of reasons why we self-sabotage. Self-worth, in my opinion, is by far the most dangerous reason why, okay? When we are abused in any way, shape, or form, it usually, not all the time, but usually deep down emotionally, on an emotional level, impacts our self-worth. So one of the things I work with clients on is, if they're ready, willing, and able, but I'm not going to force anybody to talk about something like this, but if they are, let's discuss it. Let's see how it impacts you today. And then let's kind of try to rebuild. And self-worth is one of those things. One of the other things that I'll probably do a shorter video on at some point is the whole why do women stay thing. I absolutely hate that crap. There are so many reasons why women stay. And when I talk about abuse, there's a million forms of abuse, but just in terms of domestic type abuse, there are a million reasons why women stay. When people say, why do women stay? Generally, I'm talking in generalities here, a very insulting thing, okay? There is no social worker, therapist, life coach, motivational speaker, or magic pill that is going to make the pain of our past go away. But when I'm working with the client, I want to see how we can take that pain and have it walk alongside of us so that we're still moving forward. So it's not prohibiting our ability to live a healthy life in the present and in the future. It's the hardest thing ever, but I believe we give too much power to the people that hurt us. So I try to work with clients on taking some of that power back, okay? All right, let's talk about toxic relationships. Widowed, I don't remember the exact stat. It's either 70 or 75. Widowed people lose 70 to 75% of their circle. It's a jarring statistic. We already lost our spouse, and for many of us, they were one of our closest friends or our best friend. They were also our person, our lover, possibly our co-parent, the person we were going to grow old with. We already lost all of that in one person. And then to lose, based on these statistics, and I would have to say, looks accurate from all the widowed people I've met, then to lose 70 to 75% of your circle after that, it's absolutely crushing. It's demoralizing. It starts to affect our self-esteem. It starts to affect our self-worth. There are quite a few reasons, but I think some main reasons why we lose people. I'm not going to get into that today, but I don't think it's just by chance, okay? I think there are, when I list them off with the client, maybe 5 or 6 kind of main reasons why. I'm a speaker at Camp Widow, and the first few Camp Widows that I did, I spoke on grief shame, okay? Kind of grieving your own way, not caring about judgment, continuing to say their name, all that type of thing. The last Camp Widow I did, I hosted 2 different workshops. One was on self-esteem and self-worth, and the second one was a workshop entitled Lift Me Up or Tear Me Down, the importance of who we surround ourselves with post-loss. There are a number of things I could look at since losing Michelle that I feel like have helped me beyond words with both my grief and my healing. I'm not going to list all those today, but I'll give you 2. One is my career, and one of the other ones is finding or stumbling upon, however we want to word it, new people in my life who got it, who to some extent got it, okay? Look, guys, after they pass, we're surrounded by nothing but rubble. Everything we knew, right? We don't know it anymore. Our present, our future, ourselves, we miss their love so much. If you're surrounding yourself with people who make you feel worse, you're not going to be able to grieve your own way. You're not going to be able to find healing as quickly or as easily. And when you eventually do want to live again, you are going to have an uphill battle. We all know that there are toxic people out there, right? On the flip side of that though, after you lose your spouse, somebody doesn't have to be toxic to necessarily have a negative impact on you, okay? I call it the lunch test. Pick any individual in your head right now that's in your life, anybody. Think of them. Think about their name, think about their face. Think about going to lunch with them, okay? You're at lunch with them. 2 o'clock. 3:30, they say, okay, it's a nice lunch. I gotta go now. So you both pay the bill and leave. How are you feeling as you enter that car? Are you feeling better worse, or the same. If you're feeling better, if that person had a positive impact on you, on your grief, on potentially your healing, on you mentally and emotionally and spiritually, and all of that then translate into physically, that's a good thing. That person is a positive in your life. They are, with their friendship or whatever relationship you have with them, just by being themselves and being supportive, lifting you up. Now let's say, flip it around. You went to lunch with your cousin Susie, and you're 8 months out, and Susie is criticizing you because you're thinking about dating again, or you're saying you never want to date again, or you talk about, your late husband Mark too much, or not enough, or she's asking you why you haven't went back to work yet, or she's complaining because, she bought a Benz and didn't get a Mercedes, and you're sitting there with your life in complete rubble, listening to her go on for 22 minutes about not liking her car as much as she had hoped, her brand new, car. And you're just like, my spouse is dead. My spouse is dead. What are you talking about? My spouse is dead. Whether she's intentionally doing it or not, whether she's a toxic person or doesn't know how to deal with you and your grief, whether she just has no depth, whatever the case may be, Susie is having a negative impact on you. She is, perhaps unintentionally, but she still is, tearing you down because you're leaving that lunch feeling 75 times worse than you did going in. The importance of who we surround ourselves with post-loss, right? The importance of creating boundaries with people, empowering ourselves enough to create boundaries with people. And for those we can't create boundaries with, for those who are just so damn toxic that that's not possible, as much as it hurts in the moment, removing some people from our lives. As much as it hurts in the moment, guys, and I know it does, because I've had to do it, in the long run, you're better off. And maybe they can come back into your life in the future, okay? So boundaries, removing people as we have to. And then the other thing is this, because I could go on for days and days, but I'm going to wrap it up here soon. Fostering relationships and meeting new people. Look, I have a lot of people in my life from when Michelle was alive who I absolutely love. Like, I still love them, but we're not as close. Most of my circle now are widowed people. And it's not by choice, it's just I've found some of the absolute best friends I've ever had now. I have a new circle. So for so many of you, maybe you didn't have a million friends before. Maybe you were like Michelle and I. It was just kind of you and your spouse, and they had a couple friends, and you had a couple friends, and you had a couple friends together. But for the most part, it was you and your spouse. Your spouse dies. Now what, right? So some of us have to kind of recreate a social circle. And as somebody who has dealt with loneliness a lot in their life, me, that would be me, I understand how that sounds. I was that 14-year-old kid who had anxiety, who closed himself off from the world, who didn't talk to anybody at school, and therefore lost all his friends. I was that 14-year-old kid who would be on the floor crying at home because that's not what I wanted. But once you kind of close yourself off from the world in junior high or high school, it's hard to open that door back up. I dealt with loneliness before in my life. Not just then, but at different times in my life. I understand that the idea of recreating a social circle can seem absolutely suffocating. It can seem suffocating. But it doesn't take that many people. It doesn't take more than 1 or 2 good new friends. It doesn't take more than maybe 2 or 3 new acquaintances. For those that are looking to fall in love again, it doesn't take about one magical ass person to stumble into your life, right? If you're dealing with profound loneliness, it's worth the effort. And I understand that if you make that effort and it's a fail, if you go to that cooking class or that widowed meetup and it's unsuccessful and you feel out of place, I understand how demoralizing that is as well. But we can't let 1 or 2 or 3 or 7 attempts that feel like they failed to stop us. If you're dealing with loneliness and you don't want to be, we have to continue to make an effort, even if it's outside our comfort zone. So boundaries, removing some people where they're beyond boundaries, right? Creating a new social circle, and then fostering the relationships we have. For so many of us, we have a lot of acquaintances. We have a neighbor next door who we really like. We have an old friend from high school or college that we still talk to sometimes. Fostering these relationships where maybe it can become more than an acquaintance. Maybe it become a good friendship, okay? These are all things that I talked about during my workshop at Camp Widow and that I work with clients on. Let me leave you with this thought, which I kind of said earlier, but I want to hammer it home. There is very little more important for your grief and for your healing than who you surround yourself with and what situations you put yourself in. Put me in the right situation or with the right people, and I'm the authentic, funny John. Put me in the wrong situation, around the wrong people, and I'm that person that I don't like so much, okay? Figure out who lifts you up. Figure out who tears you down, whether intentionally or not, and then start creating a life where you are surrounded by people who make you feel better about yourself, about Sunday, about a random Tuesday, about the moon, about your late spouse if you're a widowed person, and about tomorrow, all right? So that's my video on abuse and toxic relationships. Hope you got something out of it. Next week will be purpose, motivation, and goal setting. I'll see you guys then. Bye.